Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us back for the second module of an exciting AI Pathshala on Microsoft Azure AI. For those who are joining us for the first time, this workshop is brought to you by KTech Center of Excellence, Data Science and AI at NASCOM in association with Microsoft. My name is Supriya Samuel, your host for the day. Yesterday's workshop was very well received by the participants, and we promise you a power-packed agenda again, comprising of hands-on sessions, technical demos, and interactive Q&As with our esteemed presenters. We have Sandeep Alur, who is the Director of Microsoft Technology Center in Microsoft India, and Shikha Agrawal, Senior Data and Architect of Microsoft Technology Center in Microsoft India. I welcome both of you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Leveraging some of the innovations you witnessed in yesterday's workshop, we will delve into some of the key industry use cases that drive broader societal impact in today's workshop. A couple of housekeeping items. Please feel free to queue in your questions in the chat window, which will be taken up by the presenters. Kindly switch off your cameras and mute yourselves during the workshop. The speakers will give you an opportunity to unmute and switch on your videos during the Q&A. The survey form will be shared towards the end of the session for your feedback. Thank you for those who provided your feedback on yesterday's workshop. Please let the inputs coming for us to work on the improvement of the following sessions. Without any further ado, I would now like to invite Shikha to kick off the workshop. Over to you, Shikha.
Thank you so much, Supriya, and very warm welcome to the entire audience. We are really delighted to have this opportunity to be able to interact with you and share certain insights in the domain of AI. As Supriya mentioned, we have a power-packed agenda with multiple capsules spread over a duration of around 4 hours. And we're going to be starting with a very exciting topic, which is OpenAI GPT-3 model. And so for that, taking you through a journey in that domain, let me share my screen and show you how today industry is really empowered. And when I say industry, I mean pretty much every vertical to really capitalize on the power that OpenAI GPT-3 models have really given in our hands. So let's get started for the day. Now, just a brief introduction about what OpenAI GPT-3 really is. So, essentially, it is the largest model till date with 175 billion parameters in the NLP space. And because of that, it distinguishes itself from the other NLP solutions in the sense that it can perform very, very well on a variety of tasks like language translation, classification, question answering, and a variety of closed tasks as against traditional NLP models, wherein one model will actually be able to perform just a single task, right? And also, while there would be an existing model, for the model to perform well on really your use case, your set of kind of data, you would need to retrain the model on huge number of samples in order for it to perform well. In case of GPT-3, you can just give few short demonstrations purely via text interaction, and it will give you, it will perform so well that it will almost kind of be close to beating what human beings can do. And I will take you through a lot of demos in that space to share more insights on that. Let me start with, before I delve deeper into it, let me just kind of share with you with a demo. So I said NLP, right? And we are curious to know what exactly are the use cases wherein I could utilize NLP. So let's utilize GPT-3 to help us get insights in that space. So what you see here on my screen is something that pretty much all of you will have access to. I what I will do is I will just share this link in the chat window, and possibly after creating your login, etc., you will be eventually able to get access to this. So now I am actually going to make use of one of the models in GPT-3, which is Da Vinci model, and the completion endpoint of this model to help me understand what really are the use cases for NLP across verticals. So here I'm going to click on generate, and now let's see what GPT-3 tells us. Now, let's go through what GPT-3 is telling us. So it says NLP use cases in the industry, in marketing. NLP can be used to understand customer needs and preferences. This can help businesses create targeted marketing campaigns that are more likely to appeal to customers. Additionally, NLP can be used to analyze customer data in order to identify trends and determine what products or services are more popular. In human resources, NLP can be used to help identify the best candidates for a job. In customer services, NLP can be used to improve communication with customers. In law enforcement, NLP can be used for criminal investigation. NLP can also be used to help assess the mental state of suspects and defendants. Now, don't you find it amazing? NLP today with GPT-3, you actually have so much power in your hands, as you know this simple demo demonstrates. So now there is a specific parameter here, temperature, because of which next time when I make a query to it, it will not give me identical results, but it will give you some other results. So as you can see here, now I'm getting certain other results. And so every time I call it, it will give me information in regards to, the prompt that I have placed here. So that is just to kind of get started and just give you a sense of the power that we have with GPT-3. Now let me move on to my notebook, wherein I'm essentially using GPT-3 to showcase certain other scenarios with you. Now, before I do that, let me share with you that with GPT-3, we have a family of models, and they have very interesting names, Da Vinci, Curie, Ada, and Babbage. And the way these models differ is they have differing levels of power. So as you can imagine, a single model, we may not need a very high complex model for each and every task. And so these models essentially can, while they can perform all the tasks, for different kinds of scenarios, we may want to use different models. So sometimes performance might be of prime importance. Sometimes, the speed might be important. Sometimes the accuracy might be important. And based on those, we can select different models. Now, Da Vinci is a model that we kind of suggest that we should begin our journey with Da Vinci and then see if Curie, Ada, or Babbage can give us, the results that we are looking forward to, and then we can utilize them. Next, there are fine-tuned models of the set of models that I discussed earlier. So the first fine-tuned model is the Codex series of models. Now, with Codex series of models, we can actually generate code from natural language. Then we have Instruct series of models, which are really better at following instructions. And finally, we have content filter models that can really detect whether text might be sensitive or unsafe. And in terms of the endpoints for these models, we have 4 endpoints. So completions, search, answers, and classification. Okay, so essentially, with these models, we can perform a variety of tasks. And what those tasks can be, we saw that OpenAI itself helped us understand, that thematic. Right. So now let me kind of show you a scenario wherein we want to, let us say, perform call analysis, right? So typically in a BFSI space, if we talk about insurance or if we talk about home loan, there are many calls that are made by the banking or insurance organization to a single customer, to a single prospect, before they are able to actually sell the service that they are offering. And if, let us say, we wanted to create some lead propensity model, and if we were able to really understand the the intent of the customer, it would really help us in training a very efficient model. So let us see how with GPT-3 we can accomplish something like that. So here I'm making use of the classification endpoint. And what I have done is I'm giving here examples, right? So traditionally in machine learning, what I will need to do is possibly have tens of thousands of label data. Now you can imagine how time consuming and expensive that exercise is. Here all I do is give it like 5 examples. So I tell this model that this is what I want to do. So if I like kind of give you a text like this, I'm not interested in this investment product, then classify it as the customer not interested. If the customer says I cannot talk right now, I'm busy, then classify it as busy. Can you call me at 6 p.m.? Classify this as call me later. Now, with just this much information, if I ask this model to figure out the intent from something like, can you call me at 9 a.m.? And the labels would be not interested, busy, or call me later. Let us see what GPT-3 does, right? So it now says that it essentially it labels it as the customer's intent is call me later. Isn't that exciting? I mean, imagine the enormous amount of effort that you are saving here, right? Now, to give you another example, oftentimes we really want to extract entities from the conversation. So, like for example, let us say the customer says, "Can you call me at 6 p.m.?" So this implies he wants to be contacted at 6 p.m., right? And here I'm actually using Da Vinci's instruct model, and I'm giving the instruction that it is contact time extractor. And so can you call me at weekend? Contact time is Saturday or Sunday. And similarly, once I give these very few examples, I ask the model to tell me the time I'm not interested, just to kind of confuse the model. Now, when we do that, the model is smart enough to understand that the text is, black, right? So basically, it is like it is even able to handle, those very complex and confusing scenarios with very few sets of information. Of course, if I were to ask him, "Can you call me at 1 p.m.?" it would be able to figure out that the contact time is 1 p.m. So that is really the beauty of this model. And finally, I want to share with you a very interesting scenario. So typically in manufacturing organizations, we do a lot of causal analysis, right? So there could be basically a scenario wherein the 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 machinery in the manufacturing plants, they break down, right? And in order for us to avoid such scenarios in happening in future, what we want to do is really have a deep dive root causal analysis, and we maintain a repository of this information. Now, needless to say, this root cause analysis is very time consuming, and at the same time gives tremendous benefits. Now, what we can really do is make use of this historical data to, to be able to kind of, use the search API of Da Vinci or any of the Curie or Babbage to help us figure out the right data point from our historical data, which is similar to what we are facing today. And this can really shrink the time that we invest in kind of preparing a root cause analysis report. So these were some of the kind of examples I wanted to show you here. Now if we look at OpenAI GPT-3, how you can really get started on this journey. So you have extensive documentation with on OpenAI portal, and you can essentially you have a mechanism to get playground. So like for example, let us say you wanted to test this scenario wherein you wanted to see if OpenAI could help you simulate a conversation wherein the customer is actually, let's say a customer comes to your service station and he's got, his, bike or car serviced. And now you want the customer, we want to ask the customer how the service, how his experience while servicing was. So what we do is we just kind of narrate this scenario. So here, what I've done is I'm helping the model understand the context. So a customer named Raj just got his bike serviced. We don't know if his experience was good or bad. We don't know if it was to know his how his experience was. So ask him a question politely and in a fun way to share his experience. Now let us see what OpenAI does in this case. Right. So it asks in a very polite manner, "Hi Raj, how was your experience at the bike center?" Now it is interesting to see that he was able to understand that the Raj is the person who actually with whom he needs to really converse. Now if we run it again, it is it asked it again, and as we increase the temperature here, it will get more creative. Okay, so let us see now what happens as we increase the temperature. So now it got a bit more creative. So, hi Raj, we hope your bike service went well. How was your experience? So, you see, with this kind of model at your disposal, you can actually not have a very stereotyped conversation, but have a very human like conversation in a very creative way. Moving on to next example. So let us say we have a list of companies and we want to find out what is the category that they fall into. So we have like Apple, Facebook, FedEx, Amazon, Microsoft, United Phosphorus Limited, and so on. Now, if we, ask OpenAI to help us understand this, let us see what spaces, and I need to get rid of those. Um, Sorry about that. Okay. There seems to be a little problem here. So let me kind of move on to the next example. All right, let me remove this. Yeah, so that was essentially the problem here. I had given the stop sequence as return, and that's what was creating the problem. So if I do it, if I say that Apple is a technology company, now it will be able to understand this a little better. So it says Apple is a technology company, Facebook is a technology and social media company, and FedEx is a shipping and logistics company. So essentially, it is able to, once I kind of prompt the model in regards to what I want to do, and that is where the creativity rise, rest the model can really help us get insights very, very easily. Now, showing another example, I talked about feedback. I talked about, conversations, right? Now, imagine if customers were sharing feedbacks, and from those feedbacks, I could really extract the key areas of concern using AI. Imagine the manual effort that I would save, and imagine the real time dashboards that I could really build. So here, let us see, we have the scenario wherein a customer has shared his feedback. I'm very unhappy with my bike service. I was grossly overcharged. The staff was very impolite, and the service was not done in a timely manner. Even after spending so much money, my bike is not running fine. Now we ask the OpenAI to extract key areas of concern, and let us see if OpenAI is able to help us at all. Okay, it says stop sequence. Okay, let's do it again. Okay. All right. So now it is telling me overcharging, rudeness of the staff, and inefficiency. These were the key areas of concern. Isn't that amazing? Imagine the power that now we have. There could be, a dashboard, real-time dashboard, wherein we could analyze what's happening in our business and really proactively take actions. So there are, I hope this day AI is really evolving and, enabling us to build this very, very powerful and interesting solutions across different verticals and, create enriching and transformative experiences for our customers. Before I move on to the next kind of pillar of our session today, I will take a pause and see if there are any questions um, that are there with our audience. Would love to take those questions. Any
Yeah,
questions?
good.
Feel free to unmute yourself and share questions if.
Yeah. I think what you saw was truly a powerful set of those APIs, right? The power of GPT-3. I think can't get better than that. I'm sure you have questions, in terms of, hey, how do I use this in a specific industry scenario? Post them. I think post them, and we'll take those questions as we go along. I think keep it interesting for us by posting questions. That's the great validation for us as well. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Shikha. Go ahead.
Perfect. So with that, I'll move on to the next capsule for the day, which is another very, very interesting topic, which is how to build autonomous systems. And for that, let me open my presentation to kind of share insights around that thematic. All right. So, just kind of sharing the context. What is it that we're talking about here? Um, in real life, in manufacturing industry in particular, there are many scenarios wherein we deal with very complex situations. So there might be many parameters that really impact the quality of our of the end product that we are trying to build, and also the entire ecosystem, the entire environment changes fairly rapidly, and to be able to optimize those parameters manually, that becomes a fairly challenging task. So, as humans, as we respond to the changing environment, to the changing ecosystem, we might introduce delays, and we may not be always as accurate as expected for optimal quality. Secondly, oftentimes in such complex scenarios, we are not able to make use of supervised learning because we may not have labeled historical data, right? So how do we essentially go about solving these problems wherein a small defect may cost us a huge amount of money, right? So it is in those situations wherein Microsoft has brought a set of tools together that enable us to build very powerful solutions enabling autonomous production in manufacturing organizations. And this particular solution is referred to by the name of bonsai. What is essentially bonsai? So it is basically used for AI powered automation that optimizes your equipment and processes by sensing and responding in real time. It helps you in optimization, in control, and controlling complex and dynamic processes, as we just discussed. Now, if we see, the manufacturing industry has been really evolving. Of course, at a certain time, there was no intelligent capability, and then we moved on to connected factories wherein we could essentially connect the different parts of the factory and really know what's happening where, and then we could actually incorporate AI based predictive maintenance, AI based quality control, and ultimately now we are moving towards autonomous capability. Now, with Bonsai, we are able to build these very powerful systems. It makes use of something that we call as reinforcement learning. And because of that, we really don't need to have historical data. What we really do is make use of the domain knowledge that already exists with the people in the manufacturing environment. So, with the simulation that they create for the process, we are actually able to give feedback to the bonsai brain as it makes prediction. And by using that feedback or which comes to it in the form of a reward, it is able to refine itself, it is able to train itself, and ultimately we can then deploy this trained model in the premises to really automate these very complex scenarios. So it essentially entire set of tool chain to build, train, and deploy these brains. So it is able to essentially integrate with multiple, simulation models ranging from Python to Simulink, Matlab Simulink, etc. Just to kind of highlight where it will perform solutions, as we discussed earlier, in very, very highly complex and dynamic processes, wherein multiple parameters are changing very, very fast. And, the operator is finding it difficult to keep pace with the changing, ecosystem. To share with you some of the industry control and optimization use optimization or chemical process optimization or even in scenarios like windmills, energy production. So really understand what should be the right angle at which the wings of the windmill should rotate. Then building energy management, and this is something that even Microsoft internally has utilized bonsai for its own internal premises. Logistics and supply chain optimization. So these are some of the scenarios wherein bonsai really comes in hand. Share with you some of the customer success stories. Pepsi, I mean, for mentioning their Cheetos, right? They employed bonsai to really optimize these numerous parameters so that we as customers can enjoy the best of Cheetos, right? And they were very happy with the outcome. Similarly, for SEG, they utilized, bonsai platform for calibration and control of polymer reactors. Again, we can imagine in order for them to calibrate this highly sophisticated set of equipment would on one hand be very very time consuming, on the other hand to be able to if there was a super expensive. So they utilize this HVAC optimization. I already mentioned this is we have done this in Microsoft itself. Essentially to conserve energy, to optimize on the energy consumption. When every building will have different sets of room, different sets of and dynamically the temperature is continuously changing. So should I be actually doing heating right now? Should I be doing cooling right now? And what is it that will make the employees feel comfortable while at the same time I can optimize on the energy cost? That was one core objective, and utilize this technology to accomplish this. Similarly, there are many more such scenarios wherein we have utilized this technology, like for autonomous drone flight and landing, etc., to really build these amazing solutions. Now, to kind of showcase more insights about this, let me share my screen, wherein I will demos here of the platform. This particular bonsai platform is actually a PaaS service. So there is a once you basically spin off a bonsai resource, you what you will see is something like what you see here on my screen. So it comes with certain sample solutions, and Cartpole and Moab are one of are two such solutions. So let me talk to you about a bit about Moab, what exactly it is, what is the scenario, what are we trying to do here with our bonsai platform. So this actually simulates a real life industry scenario. So here what we have is there are these three levers on which this particular plate is resting. And yes, of course, the if the plate is a little tilted, the ball will fall. Now, in a manufacturing scenario, you can imagine there will be so many situations wherein the object at the top of a plate would be moving. Now, the levers really need to adjust themselves two aspects. So, A, they need to tilt in a certain direction, and B, they need to do so at a certain speed so as to ensure that the object at the top, which in this case is a ball, does not fall off. Now, imagine how complex this problem is. But the beauty is, this entire problem can be modeled with a, using physics principles. We can really model this. And once we have modeled this, actually train the brain that we have at Bonsai. Now, Bonsai has the ability to add simulators here. So as you see here, it is integrated with MathWorks, Simulink, AnyLogic, VP-Link, and of course, any other Python or any other such simulator. And so here we have, really integrated it with MATLAB Simulink simulator. And let me kind of show you the simulator here. So the simulator will essentially look like something like this. I'm just opening it. So this is basically MathWorks Simulink. And so just to give you an overview of how the simulator will look, so essentially we know by physics principles what if the ball is moving at so and so speed and so directions. If we initial position, then we really do know how the levers should respond in order for the ball to stay at center. So we model that entire situation, and then what we do is we integrate this simulator with the bonsai platform, right? And we just tell this platform what really is the objective for the platform. So the objective can be specified very simply. So there are two objectives. A, don't fall off the plate, and B, stay in the center of the plate. Now, once we specify that, the brain tries to make this prediction. Of course, initially the brain is not smart enough, so it will make some random decision, and then because the simulator will then give a feedback to the brain, you performed well or you did not perform well, and the brain will take this feedback and try to improve this. Now with millions of iterations, it will eventually be able to really train itself, and be able to kind of reach to a kind of a state wherein it will be able to perform very very well, right? So that is essentially the entire process that we are able to perform with bonsai brain, and this entire it makes it such a complex process so simple if you do have the domain knowledge. And now I want to show you another example here. So like for building energy management, right? Something that we have utilized at Microsoft, we were actually using Simulink for that. So exactly the way it works is like, let us say you have different rooms, different installations, and we are able to create that model. And then using this particular model, we integrate it, and then use the basically give feedback to the brain using this model. Ultimately, the brain learns how to respond in various situations, and gives this a message to our HVAC systems, so that then they are able to respond optimally. So any questions, any thoughts, please feel free to share in the chat window. um, so I see a question here. Is this bonsai being the RL agent here? Yeah, so bonsai is using reinforcement learning. Bonsai is essentially the entire platform which makes this entire process of integrating with a simulator, right till training to then being able to deploy the brain in the required environment. It facilitates all of that. So with that, I'll request Sandeep to kind of take us through the next sections for the day. Um,
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, Shikha. So quickly, everyone, I hope, the last
Sandeep, could you please unmute yourself?
somebody muted me. I don't know who, but okay.
Okay.
So quickly, yeah. So quickly. So thanks, Shikha. Thanks so much. And again, everyone who've joined today. So I hope last 45 minutes, you were taken through the journey of GPT-3 and autonomous systems. Any questions? I think post them in the Q&A channel. Shikha will look at them. But otherwise, that's future, right? What you just saw was truly the power of AI making difference across industry when it comes to GPT-3. And of course, when it comes to bonsai, autonomous systems, I think manufacturing industry, control systems, precisely to say where you can bring those innovations in. Yeah. So with that, we'll move forward, and we will get going with a few industry demos, right? So what you'll see me present is realistic solutions that our customers and partners are using day in and day out. Absolutely, I would say classic evidence of how AI is making a difference across the board. Okay, so I have a very short slide, by the way, just 2-3 slides, and then I'll switch to a few demonstrations. The slides are basically to give you a context, in terms of how AI is making a difference across the board, and also an evidence of how you can look at uh, the technology and how that's going to make a difference as we go along. Okay, just bear with me. I have to disable accessibility. Just give me a second. Yeah, slideshow. Um, I don't have presenter permissions. If you can make me as a presenter, that will help. For some reason, I'm not able to share. Supriya, you can see if you can make a presenter. I'm an attendee right now.
Yeah, sure, sure. For some reason,
Yeah, that's okay.
are you able to share now?
No, you should make me as a presenter. Right now, I'm an attendee. Just choose the three buttons next to my name, ellipsis, and you'll see make as presenter. Just make me as a presenter. Shikha, you can do it. Since you're a presenter, try make me as a
Yes,
presenter.
yes. It's done. It's done, Sandeep. Please share.
Yeah, now I can share. Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so let's get started. Now, if you could, there's some echo at the back sound. If you can go on mute, that will help. So if you look at this visual, yes, yesterday we did spend some time to give you perspective saying, yes, edge computing is a reality and a lot of solutions what we build in the current times, you can't confine that to one specific construct, which is intelligent cloud, right? Cloud is there for sure for us to dominantly in the world of AI, train our models, right? When it comes to inferencing, of course, there are certain things you will do inference in the cloud if there's no issues in terms of latency and stuff like that. And if latency is of utmost concern and if regulatory is of utmost concern, you take those models and deploy to the edge. So hence, this philosophy of intelligent cloud and edge is absolutely essential for you to understand that. We said this yesterday. The best part of everything we've shown so far, right, is ability for you to package all of those cognitive and applied AI services in containers. Moment it goes in a container, that means you can take it to any environment of your choice, be it your on-premise infrastructure, uh, other cloud or edge networks, doesn't matter. It can go across the board, right? I mean, today the innovation has gone to the extent of ability for us to package, highly, I would say, accurate models on your Android tablets and iOS devices and Windows wishes, right? So that's the true capability today. Now let's look at this. We talk about edge. Now, yesterday I did spend some time with it, but let's bring this to the fore right now. When I say industry scenarios, let's talk about spatial analysis. This is something which probably is a dire need across the board. Ability for us to use existing CCTV networks, an ability for us to make meaningful sense of what's happening in these videos, right? Now, surveillance, if you take any real estate, any healthcare institution, any healthcare setup, or any I would say public places, right? There are CCTV cameras all over the place, and there is a command and control center where this video gets assessed, visualized, etc. Now this is also an area. This is an area which is not also. This is an area where AI video analytics will be a key element here, right? More so in the current times where there is a need for us to ensure only the optimum number of people are in the facility. That means you want people. There is also a sufficient social distancing that exists between people, right? Of course, for obvious reasons. And also an interesting use case here would be to look at like a specific area in a space where you want to monitor people entering that zone and exiting that zone. So here, you see the blue line, that's a polygon, and this is a retail store and a checkout counter. So you want to make sure only at any point in time there are maximum 10 people in the checkout counter. Anything more than that, it's an alert that you have to open the second counter, right? So can this happen without human intervention, human supervision? Absolutely. That's where these AI cameras will come in super handy, right? So this is one thinking. By the way, the number of models you can build to actually assess a space, endless, right? I'm showing you a few examples where you can apply to a real estate right away, because these are out of the box models that we as Microsoft are giving you as part of spatial analysis cognitive service. Of course, the reason I say it can do inferencing at the edge is because we give them in containers. Imagine a scenario where I'm just going to open my whiteboard just so that we can get this design thinking properly. Just bear with me, and let's look at how the modern I would say infrastructure would would come in handy when it comes to setting up something like this. Okay, I'm going to just make it full screen. Okay, create new whiteboard. So look at it this way. Now imagine this is basically is the real estate, right? This is basically a retail store, right? Yeah. Now, if you look at right now, most of what we kind of have spoken so far is yes, there is a cloud component here, and this is where your AI model is exposed, and there are APIs that you right. So here, imagine if there is a video here. V is video, and video feed. It doesn't make sense to take it to the cloud, right? I mean, the inferencing, the latency, and it's a massive headache. This is where we're saying this is going to be the edge, right? And this is the cloud, and and basically your edge hardware infrastructure, which when we say infrastructure, you'll probably have as an example Azure Stack Edge, right? Azure Stack Edge is our hardware and environment, hardware infrastructure, hardware that basically packages GPU, I would say processors, and that can reside in this retail environment, right? And all the video feeds is sent to um, this edge infrastructure. And use a different color. Um, 1 second. Edge infrastructure, and this is exactly where you do inferencing, right? Once you do inferencing, then the inferences can go to the cloud, right? That means inferencing is happening right here in the edge infrastructure. Okay, so everything you saw right now, which basically the spatial models that you saw just now, they're all running in this setup, in the retail setup, which is this one, and nothing is going to the cloud. Basically, the models are deployed from train the cloud and deploy to the edge. That's what it is. Okay, so let's do one thing. I'm going to stop sharing now. And before I stop sharing, let me give you one more design thinking, which is basically a digital twin, right? This is something which, again, as I said, AI is going to play a profound role when it comes to businesses establish digital twin, and of course there is a level of predictivity, simulation, autonomy, all the stuff comes into perspective here. Let's look at that, right? So again, coming back to edge and cloud philosophy, digital twins are a dire need, right? Today, ask you might be working for a government setup, you may be working for a healthcare, manufacturing, retail, banking, doesn't matter. So across the board, each business is looking at, hey, with location independence being so critical and central, how can we bring in a virtual equivalent of a physical asset, right? What can you do with digital twins? Let's look at that in holistic perspective. And I have one nice video at the end in a few seconds, and then we'll switch back to some live demos from the facility here. Okay. Now, this is the true essence of a digital twin, right? So basically a physical environment, and you basically have to create an environment in the digital space, which is a replica of that. And that's not it. The data has to basically synchronize between the physical environment, digital environment. The reason you do that is eventually you want to basically, this is again, track the past, which is descriptive statistics. No AI involved here, right? It is pure descriptive because you are looking at what happened in the past. But for you to look at what may happen in the future, this is where the true power of AI comes in. And this is where you get to analyze information and probably do some forecasting, right? Bit of forecasting models to predict what may happen in the future. It may be a manufacturing setup. It can be a predictive maintenance kind of a setup. So that means you're capturing time series data on a frequent basis, and as you go along, you want to make sure you predict when a specific, I would say, equipment would fail if it runs in a similar fashion, right? Now, that's what I meant. That's what I meant by prediction. So you predict what may happen in the future. But many times, right, going back to what Shikha just spoke about in the last 25 minutes, autonomous systems. Many times, before you actually apply, by the way, the intent with this digital twin is to make it interactive. That means you basically are able to act upon the physical environment through the digital medium, right? That means you may send an instruction to restart a machine from a digital world, and that action is applied on the physical existence of a setup. That means there's interactivity, right? Now, before you actually do that, many times you want to simulate what may happen to the setup if looking at certain parameters, right? Which is where that means without human intervention, if systems take decisions on their own, what may happen? Now this is where you simulate, and that's where autonomous controls comes into perspective. So Shikha actually showcase that, right, in a few examples. Now, if we see these two, I would say, gears at the virtual and the digital space, they basically are replica. But end of the day, before you actually apply this into the physical world, you need to simulate, right? That is exactly what Bonsai did for us. Okay. Now this is very similar, and eventually the interactivity comes in, because end of the day you are responsible for the overall well-being of people in the setup or well-being of equipments, the facility, all the stuff happens, and that's where the true interactivity comes in. Okay. Now this gets interesting, right? So we all this last do yesterday and today's event is all about AI. Now, when it comes to metaverse, which is all of us have heard this time and again in the last 3 to 4 months, it's a true creation of workspace in a 3D space, right? It's a work environment, virtual space in a three-dimensional environment. Now, there is a lot happening in that world. There's a lot happening in considering language, speech, computer vision, all the stuff, right? This is where interactivity comes in. Interactivity is where you will significantly see the value of AI being applied. And let me show you one quick example, right? I spoke about digital twin. This is a digital twin, by the way. This is a digital twin in the world of mixed reality, and this is something which, let's say, a plant manager of a windmill farm, he or she, sitting at the comfort of the couch, they're able to visualize a complete digital twin of the windmill farm. Isn't this cool, right? So that's not it. It also gives you some descriptive statistics and predictive statistics. So depending on what decision you want to take, you might take an action. So here there's an alert coming up on one of the windmill. That means it may be predicted. And looking at what are the statistics of now, the plant manager may decide to send a reset command onto the windmill, right? All happening in the comfort of the couch. Yeah. So this is the true advancement we're seeing when it comes to technology. And these are the real use cases being considered to solve for the real world. Yeah. This is where the power of AI steps in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off my camera, because I'm going to enable camera app on my machine so that you can see a few demos that I have in store for you right behind me. And hope you can see my camera. Just confirm, Shika or Supriya, you can confirm that you can see me on the video. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I can see you, Sandeep.
Okay. Perfect. That means my video is shared on on the Teams. You should only see my video right now. I'm moving on. Okay. Cool. So let's look at this. Let's start with first demo. This probably complements what Shika said. Shika actually showed a Moab, Project Moab within Bonsai, right? Let me show you that Moab kit we have at the facility right here. I'm going to just zoom in on that right away. Yeah. So what you're seeing right now is basically the Moab kit, right? It has those three robotic arms that you see here, right? And the robotic arm basically it is expected to control the ball to not to fall off, right? The plate which is right here, right? When I drop the ball on that, it is expected to balance. You see these robotic arms adjust automatically looking at the environment, right? So I'm basically trying to move this here and there, right? So this is the classic evidence of how AI, which is basically the autonomous systems. That means imagine in a real factory setup, you might not have human being keeping an eye on some of the parameters. This is where the reinforcement learning based model, which takes in parameters and tries to perform an action, and it learns on its way, right? End of the day, it is about learning what is the happy path, and if the happy path gives rewards, it looks at that path and tries to do things for us. So hence, the point here is, end of the day, when it comes to balancing, while it went off, right? It went off the balance, right? Because there was a wind coming. That means I need to probably train more, right? There was basically there's a mission here which is giving out some hot air here, which is not moving to make it happen, right? So this is the first example I kind of want to showcase. So let's switch gears and let's come to the second example. Okay. So the second example, what you see here is a smart meter, right? Now I'll give you perspective. See, we're talking about AI and we're talking about speech, we're talking about language, we're talking about document processing. So all of that are independent innovation, but you have to pull them together to solve a specific industry scenario. I'll show a classic case of this machine here. This is basically a smart meter in let's say manufacturing plant, or it can be a smart meter in your household. It can be commercial setup, a smart meter. Now, the smart meter has a variable frequency drive. That's what the setup is all about, and it controls the fan speed, right? So depending on whatever task it is, and this black thing you see here is basically the Dell Edge gateway. So data goes from the variable frequency drive, which is the entire setup, to the cloud via this edge. Now, something goes wrong with this particular machine, right? Now, end of the day, there's a plant manager. The plant manager basically may be wearing this helmet, this gear, right? So this, let me just zoom in one more so that you can see it up close. Okay. So this is a real wear gear. And just so that you know, we're talking about edge inferencing, right? Edge intelligence. Now, this basically has a head-mounted tablet, right? There's a small tablet running here. There's a camera set up here. By the way, by wearing this real wear headgear, a plant manager can make a call over Teams to a specialist who's sitting somewhere else in the country because that person knows how to fix this, right? The best part is in a manufacturing plant, you may be wearing gloves, greasy hands, right? And you can't touch a tablet, right? Speech. So this head-mounted tablet works on speech. That means you can give speech commands. That means speech to text happens here, and the command and control will be sent back to this device for your repair work to happen, right? Isn't this cool? So we are talking about speech, etc. Dominantly, in terms of conversation, but no, speech as a technology technique gets used across the board. Okay, let's move on to the next demonstration here. Now, this is the factor of the future, right? Let's look at what is the setup here. Now, you're seeing a robotic arm here. Okay, there's a robotic arm. And this is, before I talk about this, this is basically a chip manufacturing company. Yeah. So they manufacture microprocessing chips. Now, there is a robotic arm here. And on top of the robotic arm, there is a circular thing that rotates. This has about 4 microprocessor chips, and one of them is intentionally scratched. The intent here is, can we do edge inferencing? That means I should be able to basically do quality control at the edge. As you see, the robotic arm is going to come forward. It's going to rotating right now. There's a camera. This is a camera, by the way. Where I'm showing my hand, it's a camera. The camera has a Raspberry Pi connection, and that Raspberry Pi is hosting a ML model. Okay, so there is a scratched processor here. That means using computer vision, you should be able to decipher which one is good, which one is bad, and depending on good or bad, as a line manager in a factory floor, you're accountable on the yield, right? You're expected to maximize yield given specific allocation of budget, right? If I've given $100, that means if you can manufacture 100 chips, I should ensure my overall equipment efficiency is higher, right? That means if I end up manufacturing 90, that means 10 rupees or $10 goes as waste. And again, the raw materials is scrappy, right? So that's what it is. So this is a classic evidence of how industries are looking at edge inferencing. We're talking about industry use cases here, right? So we've been talking to a lot of I would say industry conglomerates in the country, and each one of them have factory set up, on the periphery of this country. May not be in the metro, but tier 2, tier 3 cities. Now there, you may not have internet connectivity that you desire 24/7. Those are the places where edge inferencing becomes so critical, right? Of course, with 5G coming in, as I said, private 5G network is what most of the manufacturing, retail, healthcare institutions will start with. And when they have a private 5G network, which is where today they're experimenting, because today you don't need a telecom intervention for private 5G networks. You can absolutely go use the free spectrum available to start experiments, right? Experiments like these, video surveillance within a large manufacturing setup, without going to internet for inferencing, when I say internet, without going to public cloud for inferencing. That means you're doing inferencing in the shop floor of a manufacturing plant. Yeah. So this is very, very real, guys. So when we're saying computer vision, yes, this is the true power of computer vision. When we talk about edge inferencing, it can't get better than this, right? So moving on to the next demo. Next demo is basically we talk about white goods product here, right? what you're seeing right now, there are three different panels, right? Um, each panel signifies one white goods product. What is a white goods product? Basically, a washing machine, a dishwasher, and a micro oven, right? So again, a classic scenario where edge inferencing is a reality, right? Of course, these are all IoT setup. That means these. Let's take a washing machine here, right? The washing machine you use every day, and as a manufacturer, as an OEM, you get heartbeat, let's say once a day, in terms of how the machine is performing. Looking, that's a time series data. Looking at what data you're getting, you might have a predictive model, right? In terms of forecasting when this washing machine may fail to perform optimally. Imagine the washing machine is heating up for no reason. You don't know. So that heat signature, if it is hazardous, then it's a responsibility as a OEM or a manufacturer to alert the customer saying, hey, you know what? Don't use the washing machine tomorrow. We're going to send a repairman to your home. We foresee that the machine may fail. That's the world we're going to live in, right? Going forward, all the white goods products will be sold as a service. You'll not pay for, let's say, you want to buy a washing machine, you don't pay for the washing machine, you pay for the service, right? So it's basically, that's how it's going to be. It's mostly an OpEx model. That's how the world is moving towards, right? We saw Eureka Forbes launch water as a service, right? You're not paying for the Eureka Forbes equipment, but we're paying for the amount of water it dispenses, and they understand the operating environment principles of that, right? So what you saw was a dishwasher, a washing machine, and a microwave oven. This is truly a classic evidence of how AI is going to make a profound impact in how people will leverage it in real scenarios. Yeah. So any questions so far? I'm going to just stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to get my video back. Any questions so far in what I've showcased? So just checking. Any questions so far, guys? All of you, I know, good number of folks are on the call today. I'm sure you'll have questions in terms of, hey, that scenario, how does it work? You showed 3 or 4 demos. How is it wired up? So any questions, any thoughts? You may be from manufacturing, healthcare. I don't know which fraternity you belong to, which domain you belong to, but any questions you have, feel free to post them. Okay.
Yeah. Sandeep, there is a very interesting question and in regards to metaverse and healthcare, and I know you've been engaging with a lot of customers in that space. And the question is, how will metaverse play as role in healthcare sector in future? I thought I'll bring it to your attention.
Brilliant question. Look at it this way. We're talking about metaverse is all about shared experiences, right? If you look at the AR, VR, and mixed reality world in the past, when I say past, we're talking about probably 6 months before, it has mostly been spoken in the context of an individual experience, right? Let's say I am doctor and I wear, let's say, some head-mounted device and I see some experiences. Today, we're entering a shared there's some echo there. Yeah, today we're entering a shared environment. That means ability for us to interact with doctors, with patients, with clinicians across the board. So healthcare, in my view, is the biggest beneficiary of this innovation under the umbrella of metaverse. Today, I can talk about few use cases which are done in India, right? For example, with one of the top oncology hospitals in the country, we had 2 doctors, one doctor in tier 1 city, let's say, which is Bangalore, another doctor in a tier 2 city, right? And the intent there was, how do we bridge the skill gap between a top surgeon in the hospital who is basically a super specialist versus junior surgeon who is performing a surgery, but that person needs a real-time help from the doctor. So again, thanks to metaverse, thanks to technology, we're able to connect both of them in real time, right? And it's not about connectivity, it's about experience. See, metaverse is all about experience, right? Now, in that use case I just spoke about, we had the doctor in tier 2 city, able the doctor to see the doctor from metro in front of that person, right? It's basically holoportation, teleportation, what do we call it, right? And ability for them to interact and see the patient's body in front of them in unison and take decisions. That's a reality, number one. Number two, there are a lot of critical cases that you need multiple doctors to come across the table, discuss, decide, and action. Now, that's also a case where metaverse will significantly make it more effective. When I said, your question may be, can it not happen today? It happens today, but is the experience great? May not be great. Will a metaverse bring in a lot more sense of belonging and connectivity? Absolutely yes, right? That's one. Second, experiences. See, metaverse, we're talking about doctors, but what about patients? The when I spoke to doctors in these two big hospitals in the country, their point of view was, you know what, Sandeep, while doctors are also biggest beneficiaries, I would say the biggest beneficiary will also be patients, because today, let's take an example. When you walk into a hospital and they do, let's say there's a case of cardiovascular, and they do an angiogram on an individual, and typically before, if they find any blocks in artery, they call the patient's concerned people, and they show on a 2D screen saying, hey, this is where the block is, etc. And most of the time it's up to one's imagination, one's visualization skills in terms of what they look at it. Now, what doctors feel is, if you can convert the CT scans and MRI into three-dimensional models, that way it's a lot more easy for even doctors to relate to it in terms of some inferences and decisions to be taken. And for patients, it's very real. They understand how it's done and what doctor is saying, because 3D is a lot more relatable and a lot more, I would say, when I say relatable, it's understandable for somebody who probably may not have good visualization skills, right? So metaverse will play a huge role in every industry, but I would say, in my personal opinion, healthcare, manufacturing, retail are the biggest beneficiaries of metaverse in the B2B context. Yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks for the question. Great question. And again, AI will have a significant role to play as we go along in ensuring the speech, the language. Imagine same examples of doctors, right? Look, this is how technology is going to make such a profound impact. Two doctors I mentioned. Imagine two doctors don't speak the same language, right? You might be connected with a very high profile surgeon in a different country, from, let's say, from Japan, and that person in Japan, doctor, is helping, let's say, Mysore in Karnataka, right? Now, this person is speaking Kannada, the person, or it's speaking English, and the person in Japan is talking in local language, Japanese. Now, can it convert to English and they interact? Absolutely. I think that's a true power of AI in metaverse. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Thank you so much. So with that, I think, Shikha, I think it's time for us to take a break before we step into your next session. Yeah. And then we'll resume with your session. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Right now it's 11:13. Do we resume at 11:20? Yeah, 7 minutes of break. Yeah. And guys, knowing it's a Friday, we might finish 30-40 minutes ahead of time today, because it's dominantly demos, and any will probably be available for a lot of question answer that we can do today. Yeah. Cool. So let's break now. I think we start 10 o'clock. It's 90, approaching 90 minutes, or rather 75 minutes, but we'll take 10 minutes break and we'll resume from here. So 11:20, we'll resume. Okay. Thanks so much.
Right. So I hope everyone is back after the short break. And in this capsule, we're going to touch upon another interesting offering in the realm of cognitive APIs. So, which is called Personalizer. Um, Talking about cognitive APIs for the benefit of those who were not able to attend yesterday's session. So essentially, with cognitive APIs, what we as Microsoft have done is taken out the entire set of complexities from the process of creating those experiences for the customers, wherein we have to train models, do all that data pre-processing, label the data, train it, validate it, deploy it, etc. So cognitive APIs are really available to you as something you can consume directly. And so yesterday we talked about a few of the very interesting cognitive API in the realm of speech, wherein we could actually wherein we could translate speech to text, text to speech, translate from one language to another. Also we discussed cognitive APIs in the realm of computer vision, wherein we could extract all the insight from different documents, so be it our ID documents, the hard cards, passports, or custom documents like invoices, receipts, or for that matter any other document. And while cognitive APIs give us a mechanism wherein we can utilize the pre-trained model, uh, how we differentiate our offering is the mechanism available at your end to retrain your models to for your specific scenarios to improve on the accuracy, etc. So in that space, there is another offering by the name of Azure Personalizer. Now, it is essentially a reinforcement, a learning API, which enables us to really improve on the decision making process. Now, earlier in the session, we talked about Bonsai platform, which is also making use of reinforcement learning. And here we have Azure Personalizer, which is, on the same thematic. So what's really the difference, right? So if we talk about Bonsai, it is meant for very, very complex scenarios wherein it would be disastrous to train the model in real time. So we talk about manufacturing organizations, right? Manufacturing plants. We definitely cannot take the risk of training the model and really making the model kind of give its output and be able to kind of make use of those predictions while the predictions might be inaccurate, right? So we definitely need to have a simulator there. Now, with Azure Personalizer, let's say there is a scenario wherein we go to a Starbucks coffee shop and the person at the coffee shop is able to really suggest to me the coffee that would be my favorite depending on the weather and the time of the day. Wouldn't that be amazing? Now, for such a scenario, Azure Personalizer comes in handy. So let's just see how that exactly works. And just to share with you a customer success story, AB and Bev, which is one of the largest brewing company, they started to use Personalizer in fall 2021, and they were essentially able to very successfully recommend products to their online customers using Personalizer. So now let us see how basically reinforcement learning and supervised learning primarily differ, right? So in supervised learning, you would have training examples, and then you will have training labels, and then you will have this particular model. And an example being, let's say you wanted to train a model which can really identify what digit it is, basis a huge repository of images of digits along with their labels, right? So in this case, we would be actually training a computer vision model using TensorFlow, Keras, multiple layers, and using massive compute power, and essentially ultimately be able to train this model. Needless to say, today all these kind of problems have been sorted, and we typically employ transfer learning. So we would be making use of some model like Linet, ResNet, or something like that. Of course, if we are using Azure platform, then things are much simpler. You can use Azure Custom Vision Cognitive API for your classification or object detection needs, wherein without writing a single line of code, you can actually train a model which will give you very high degree of accuracy with as low as 15 images per class. Right. Of course, in machine learning, there will never be a thumb rule. Everything will vary from case to case. But this is just something that you can experiment for yourself. The platform and the entire experience being so super easy. Now, talking about reinforcement learning, right? Here we use pre-interaction data rather than extensive labels. So the way it would work is Like, for example, if somebody was playing chess, now how can we even think of training a model wherein, given the plethora of situations, plethora of states, and how is it possible to have a labeled data? So in this case, the way it will work is, we can utilize reinforcement learning, wherein, given the state, the model will suggest certain action, and then we will be able to share the reward to the model, and it will then optimize itself basis the reward. So essentially, here the thematic is, we essentially, like, for example, let us say that there is a scenario wherein a website wants to really offer personalized experiences to its customers. And it is, let us say, a website that shows news stories, and the website aims to be able to show the story that will appeal to the customer, right? So now, what is it that that this particular reinforcement learning solution will look like? So it will observe what is the user profile, what is the profile of the user who has now come to browse its website. Then it will basically recommend certain news story basis the the intelligence that it has, and using the input of the user profile. And then it will see how the user responds to that recommendation. Now, how do we figure out how the user is responding to recommendation? Naturally, if I did like that story, I will spend certain time with it. I will maybe scroll to the bottom of it, signifying that I did like what the model recommended, and that's why I kind of went through that entire story that the model suggested and that the website really shared with me, right? So so this is essentially a thematic which kind of is utilized in by Personalizer. So basically, we now, why does it work better? Because there is a combination of exploit versus explore. So what the model does is, a, it uses the best known inference, and then there is a setting we can signify wherein we say, okay, now don't make use of what you've already learned, but try something new, explore. And so the setting could be 10% of the times the model needs to take that action, or 5% of the times, and basis that setting, the model will employ a combination of exploit versus explore, and that is how we will get very interesting solutions, right? So it will be, with explore will enable it to discover new things, while exploit will actually make use of the intelligence that it has already done. So now Azure Personalizer essentially makes use of this technology to enable us to build this interesting personalized experience for the customers. So some of the scenarios wherein you will think of using Personalizer is like, you're picking one of the many items from a list of items, like you go to Starbucks or you're shopping on a website, all right, and you typically don't know what would have happened if you picked any other option. You have no idea about that. So that there is this element of uncertainty. And then it's not gonna be same, right? So like, if I go to a coffee shop, right? The trends might change. A new coffee may come up, and suddenly that may become the vogue, and you can imagine all the customers kind of aspiring to try out whatever new has come up. Something similar continually happens on our e-commerce sites. So the scenarios wherein the options change over time, and hence a model that you may have earlier, it will continually need to be refined basis the actions that customers are taking. And the sooner you are able to kind of incorporate that feedback into your model, the better the experience will be for the end customers. And of course, the world keeps changing around you. and it cannot be more true than the current times. The world is continuously changing and is unpredictable. That is something that has become the norm in current times. So this is really, a scenario wherein you can experiment with personalizer. So how it will work is the user will interact with the application or the site, and the basically the inputs will be user information, which will serve as the context, and then the features of, like, for example, if it was a coffee scenario, then the features related to the coffee, like what's the origin of the coffee, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, so on and so forth, right? So these two together will enable the model to kind of utilize the combination of exploit versus explore to come up with a recommendation, which would then be fed to the the ranking API basis the actual kind of response from the user. So like in a coffee example, the model may suggest a certain coffee, and then the user may actually order a certain other coffee. And basis that, we would then invoke the rank API, and this rank API will actually enable the model to further refine itself. That's how we will be able to kind of work in the scenarios, right? So that's how the whole thing works. And so basically what we see here, these are basically the scenarios wherein we work in apprentice mode. And by that, what I mean is these models can only be trained in production. Right. So we basically, as we train it, we gain confidence in the model. So we begin to see that what the model is predicting is becoming closer to what the user actually in real time expects. And so we are able to actually create this customers. So with that, let me share my screen for taking you through a few demos. Hopefully that will give more insights into this very interesting scenario. So here is this, demo wherein, as a user comes to the screen, there are, so this is basically a scenario is here, the objective is to be able to showcase the right article, the right story to the user, something that will appeal to the user. And here we have three options in terms of the stories. And so we want to basically see what is it that appeals to the user. And the model eventually learns basis, basis the personalizer training. So here we have these three options, right? And in terms of the user context, so how did the user come to this website? So whether it was email, or whether he browsed it directly, or he searched, or it was on some social media, and from there he came. So this is one of the aspects. And then what is the current tournament that is going on? So whether it is Wimbledon or Mutual Madrid Open or Australia Open, and then what is the device he's using to browse? So mobile, desktop, and tablet. So these are basically some informations, and basis that the website makes use of the personalizer to show an article, and depending on whether the user really browsed till the end, the way the user actually interacted with this particular article that was thrown, we would then make use of the rank and reward to really continually improve this model. And eventually the personalizer model will learn how what appeals to the user, and will be able to share the right article in majority of the cases. Now, how to work with this? Again, because it is a cognitive API, you can really go to the portal Azure.com and search basically for create a new resource in the realm of cognitive API. And so there you will see a personalizer resource which you can really create and get started with it. So that is essentially how you basically work with it. And once you have the resource, then you can get its, APIs, its keys. And then you can, let's say in a coffee example, you have, the features of the coffee, like what is its type, what is its origin, what is its whether it's organic and whether it's dark or light. And let's say just to simulate certain users data, so you do have users preference data, then basically personalizer API takes away all the complexities of the reinforcement learning algorithm. So how typically you will train the model is something very simple. So you will basically iterate multiple times, and what you will do is create a random, context features. So in this case, what you will do is you will take a random user, random weather, random time of the day, and so basically you will get create a sample data, and then you will specify what are the features for the coffee. And then you will ask the personalizer to tell you, what action is recommended by the model. So you call this rank URL, and now you get the response. Okay. Now, of course, you what you would do is you get this prediction. So now what you do is you calculate the reward, because you have data which is something similar to what would happen in the real life. The user will actually order a coffee. So now you do have the actual data, and using that data and the prediction, you will be able to calculate the reward. And then you will post this reward to the personalizer. And you will do this multiple times, this very simple process. So you can see there is no complex reinforcement learning code out here. Personalizer has really taken away all that complexity from you. So you call this multiple times, and ultimately you will be able to see when you get confident that now the model is giving me predictions aligned with users preferences. That's when you could start utilizing it, and of course while continually training it further. So any questions here, Sandeep, that will warrant which we can take up? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next thematic for the day.
Yeah, I think there's none, Shikha. You can probably proceed. Yeah,
Sure.
should be okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, the final topic that I will be talking about today relates to another very interesting scenario, which is again very prevalent in both, I would say, finance world as well as manufacturing world. So, or even in, I would say, retail. So typically, let's say there is a scenario wherein we have a certain revenue, and you can imagine if there is an e-commerce company, they would be selling many products via multiple channels. And if, let us say, there is a downfall in revenue, to be able to pinpoint the root cause, what is a very difficult task, right? So there would be, it is possible that the revenue fell because in a certain demographics there was, let us say, a certain scenario because of which people were not buying that product, or there could be a certain product which across demographics consumers have kind of chosen to not buy that, or there could be so many other factors. I mean, there is just way too many parameters here, right? So there's just very many metrics. And in such a scenario, or if we talk about manufacturing, right? So let us say we are manufacturing we could a certain product. It could be medicines, it could be certain equipment, it could be anything. And you can imagine when such a manufacturing process is happening, there are very many parameters that can really impact the quality or the amount of production that is being made. And so, if there is an anomalous behavior, to be able to A, identify that anomaly, and B, to be able to identify the root cause is a phenomenal task, right? So, how do we essentially, tackle these scenarios? And for this, we have an offering in the realm of applied AI services, something wherein yesterday we talked about cognitive search, right? Wherein multiple kind of functionalities come together to give you an experience where using which you can really solve complex scenarios. So that is where Azure Metrics Advisor comes in. And how basically this works is it helps you proactively monitor multiple metrics and diagnose issues. There is like two variants of it. So one is multivariate anomaly detector, which is also the kind of, you can say, the brain behind Metrics Advisor. But Metrics Advisor goes a step ahead. It essentially A, helps you identify the anomaly, and then also helps you identify the root cause, right? So these are basically two offerings that we have. And let us see basically how they work. So in Azure, with Azure Metrics Advisor, you get this rich ecosystem of tools that let you monitor your business matrix, see different dimensions, different views of that data, and then be able to basically spot an anomaly. And this can actually help you create very interesting predictive maintenance solutions. So let us say you are capturing different sensor data, and all of a sudden you see that, let's say, basis the vibration in XYZ settings, the temperature, the pressure, there is an anomaly now visible. And so before the machine breaks down, Metrics Advisor can help you get alerts that an anomalous situation is in place. And so you could actually, take the corrective action. Similarly, there could be talk about other scenarios, and I'll take you through those. So now, how basically it simplifies the entire process is like it gives you a lot of connectors for connecting your this time series data. So you don't have to invest effort in writing complex processes to ingest all of your data. So if your data is residing in SQL, or in it is residing in blob storage and so many other kind of data stores, you can essentially create a connector wherein this data can flow into Azure Metrics Advisor. Then it gives you entire user interface by which you can actually visualize this data, see the anomalies, identify the root cause. You don't have to do a single bit of programming, and you can actually view this. So let me do this. Let me share my screen. If it is not the if the audio is not visible, so Sandeep, I'm going to play this video, and uh, if you could let me know if it is audible, that will be very helpful.
Sure. Sure. Go ahead.
Was it audible?
No, Shika.
All right, sure. So let me share this with include computer sound, and for that, um, okay, couldn't share. Go to your device audio settings like echo. Okay, so maybe I'll have to change certain settings. So in which case, let me not attempt to do this. I'll skip this video then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick
The,
tip.
yeah.
Quick tip. Just ensure your system mic, a system a speaker, and your team speaker are same. That's all. That's the
Yeah.
exception we get at times.
Yeah.
Now we
Is
can.
it now?
Yes. Coming. Yeah.
What?
It's working. We could hear.
Okay. All
Go ahead.
right.
You can play it.
Right. So this video was essentially to kind of showcase what Metrics Advisor enables you to do. So essentially solve these complex problems in a very, very so now, if we talk, so basically how it does is you can collect time series data through from multitude of sources. You can see where is an anomalous situation. So it has these various capabilities in the web portal, wherein you can see where an anomalous situation is happening. You can set incidence alerts. So when an anomalous situation happens, the relevant stakeholders can be notified, and then of course they can get to the bottom of the root cause, and that can help them prevent such an error happening in future. Now there are many scenarios wherein this comes in handy. So let us say we have an IT department, right? So if you have a racing sport team and they want to monitor the state of the data, um, you know,
Shika, 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 there's a parallel audio coming in. You would have to mute the audio that's coming from the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Shika.
So basically, yeah. So essentially, there are many scenarios wherein Matrix Advisor can be used. So let us say you are an IT organization, and you want to really know whether the website, is essentially you've deployed a website, and you want to make sure that you get notified before a problem actually happens. So there could be a memory crunch, there could be a storage crunch, and you really want to be notified before a problem actually happens, right? So their metrics advisor, if all the metrics are flowing into the advisor, it can really help you get notified about the problem before the problem actually happens. Similarly, in an e-commerce site, let's say users, there is user traffic, and then all of a sudden you see that the traffic has really gone down, right? So you can essentially, make use of metrics advisor to get notified before a problem actually happens. So of course we talked about manufacturing, and again, it is, let me share my screen for some demos. See it all, how easy it is. So here essentially, let's see what I have. Let me share the screen here. So yeah, so with this, I mean, you don't have to basically train any model. All you do is you can. So this, the demo that I am showing here, this is of a multivariate anomaly detector, wherein you can feed in your data and to be able to kind of see the anomalies. And the way you do is you just feed in the data to it. There will be an estimator. It will learn from the data, and then it will tell you where the anomalies are. Of course, for multivariate, for the matrix advisor, there is a whole a portal from wherein you can ingest the data, and the portal will actually help you visualize the various kind of anomalies, get to the root cause of it. So that is pretty much it. And here, yeah, so essentially that's what I wanted to share. With that, are there any queries, anything that related to this?
Is this is similar to Synapse Analytics?
So it is very, very different. Great question. So Synapse Analytics is a platform using which you can essentially build any kind of analytics solution. That said, if you talk about getting to the root cause analysis, Synapse definitely gives you connectors using which you can ingest all of your data, but then you will be using the ETL pipelines using Azure Data Factory, which is also a constituent part of Azure Synapse Analytics, to process all that data. And then you will have to train some machine learning models that will help you identify the anomalies, and then create some more visualizations, more dashboards. Again, all of that you can do in Synapse, but then you'll have to put in that effort to create those visualizations using which you will be able to get to the root cause. With Matrix Advisor, you ingest the data and you are done. Rest of it is pre-built into this offering. So, but great question. It will be really, I would say, kind of good experience for you to kind of create a POC on top of that. That will really help you see how simple Matrix Advisor makes it for you to work with your multivariate time series data. But great question. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Shikha. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Gopal. Any other question? Otherwise, that is pretty much what I wanted to share in this session, and handing it over to Sandeep now for the last capsule for the AI Pathshala.
Awesome. Thanks, Shikha. And again, thanks for those questions coming and keep it coming. We see less questions today. Suppose today is a Friday. It's a happy day. I'm sure all of you are active. So let's switch to last capsule for the day, which is on accessibility, right? A topic which I'm sure all of us can relate to, and more than ever in the current times, there's a need for us to ensure the power of AI is leveraged and we make everything that we build around us highly accessible and inclusive, right? So your question may be, hey, what does it really mean? Let me take you through a short, I would say, narrative on the topic, and then we'll switch to a couple of very meaningful demos, um, right? And we will take it from there. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, so end of the day, I think there's a need for us to engineer software for accessibility. Okay, now the question is, what is AI's role here? This is AI Pathshala. How is AI is going to play a critical role here? Absolutely. I think everything we've spoken so far, be it a personalizer service, be it metric advisor, be it speech, language, vision, decision, everything will have a role to play when it comes to making systems we build highly accessible and of course inclusive. Now, let's look at this particular design thinking here. Now, look, so end of the day, moment we say accessibility, people think, or disability, people think it's a personal health condition, right? Um, it's not the case. If you look at it, disability is actually a mismatch human interaction. So let's look at each of us. Say today, let's say, I'm able to speak in a specific language because, of course, all of us in the same country and we understand English and local language. But imagine if there is a person who's a highly specialist individual and that person can't speak a language, then translation, right? That's basically mismatch human interaction. There's nothing to do with, you're not basically saying, hey, this person comes in this category. No, not really. Second, if you look at right now, all of us are using all of us are using the systems, right? Now I'm able to type because yes, it's perfectly fine. Imagine situational disability. For example, I have a broken hand, right? So I won't be able to type into the system. So can I speak into the system? Absolutely, right? So ability for us to kind of bring in those when I say speak, that's where speech to text happens, right? So my point is these are all situational dependence disabilities, and there are permanent disabilities. For all of that to be addressed in unison, that's where accessibility plays a critical role. Now, this is an interesting picture I took when I was at a coffee shop in a different country, where they put a very inclusive post there saying, hey, we may be basically lower your mask because end of the day right now, if you can't speak, we may not be able to understand what you were saying. So remove your mask and we do lip reading, right? So very inclusive way to engage customers, and these are only going to increase as we go along. For somebody, many times we go to the shops and that person probably is speaking half some local language or half something else, but can there be a medium where translation happens seamlessly? That's the reality, right? When we say inclusive design, we're talking about considering full range of human diversity, right? That's what inclusivity means. Accessibility means ability for us to ensure the systems we build can be used by people of all abilities. Yeah. So accessibility, inclusive design. Let's be very clear in terms of what they really mean. And of course, when it comes to inclusive design principles, there is a need for us to recognize when I say full diversity. Look at the definition. End of the day, full range of human diversity. That's such a important term here. That means you are building system where you are considering full range of human diversity across the board. And that means you recognize exclusion that you right now have as you build a system, and you solve for one. See, here's an interesting thing, right? I was talking to Professor Charudatta. So he's Dr. Charudatta. He's from TCS. He heads Accessibility Center of Excellence at TCS. So he was during my interaction. He once indicated that Sandeep, one of the classic example of solve for one, extend for many is the ramps we see in some of the real estate setup, be it hospital, be it airport, be it a cinema theater. Many times you put a ramp instead of stairs, right? That ramp was actually put to ensure people with certain disabilities, for example, they're in a wheelchair, they can't walk stairs, etc., to support. But look, today everybody uses a ramp because it's convenient, right? That's a classic example. Was solving for one type of disability, but you're extending the convenience to every single one of us, any single one of us, without probably if you're fine to walk stairs, but you prefer taking ramp because it's convenient and easy. That's what it is, right? And of course, diversity. If you engage diverse set of audience, you learn in terms of how you kind of build it. Let's look at this. For example, today, if you look at inclusive approach, all of these come in handy, right? Speech, translation, AR, VR, computer vision, multimodal interaction. What is multimodal interaction? For example, right? So you might be, let's say, interacting, on your laptop, right? And then you switch to a TV to watch a program, and the interactivity should continue. That's what happens with any of the OTT platforms, right? You're watching a movie on your desktop, and eventually you move to, let's say, TV. The same movie continues in the TV. So, or for example, interacting using speech on a mission, and suddenly you have to use a keyboard. So that adaptability is so critical in the current times, right? In fact, I want to just show one demo, right? So there are a lot of demos lot of things that we can show in this particular trail, but let me just bring in one demo. I'm sure most of you know or heard of seeing AI. So I'm going to just present my screen here. Just give me a second. Um, so basically, I'm going to be projecting my iPhone onto the desktop, and that's where basically I have a Seeing AI app. And this app is a classic demonstration of how AI, everything you've basically heard from us today and yesterday, all of that is packaged brilliantly in this app. And this is, by the way, available um, on iOS, right? So let me just shift gears and let me make it full screen and make sure you guys can see this. So on my tile here, you should see a Seeing AI app here. Yes, that comes up. Okay. So if you look at the Seeing AI app, basically it comes with text. Uh, so let me just audio is something on my machine here. You should be able to hear it. Right. So there is something called scene preview. Let's look at what is the true power of it. I'm going to be projecting my phone. I mean, directing phone towards a Surface Hub here. I'm going to take a picture. It's processing right now. Yeah, probably a room with a TV and a chair. That's what it says at the bottom. Imagine this is being used by people with some, this is basically built for people who basically have 100% visual impairment or low vision. With low vision or no vision, this application gets used, right? So this is absolutely real here. Let's look at this. Let me take a picture here and see what happens. This is processing. Yeah, see the black one is it says a chalkboard, right? And that's the basically, and also there's something called explore photo, right? And when I say explore photo, um, I so I will move my finger across and explore. It's a television. Yeah, it's reading the text right there, right? Okay. So this is the true power of this. And also, by the way, if you look at, I should be able to read text, right? Short text, and there is basically the dot. Uh, this is basically barcode. And also, if I want to identify some people, so I can actually train, computer vision to identify a few faces. It can do that. And the best part is also currency, right? I have a few notes here. Let me just bring them up for reference. Now, yeah, it is 100 rupees. That's what it says. And yeah, so it should, this is basically soil 20 rupees. That's what it says, right? So 100 rupees. So this is basically is a true power of this particular application. I can go to see. There is also, by the way, there is a color. So as somebody with low vision, no vision, if you identify color, as I get closer here, there's a white, gray, black, yeah, black, yeah. So now, yeah. Also, there's handwriting recognition. If somebody is written somewhere in inking, you can. That's where Read API comes into picture of OCR. You can do that. And finally, there is this wonderful capability called light. Right? Where there is more light, the music comes in. Where there's less light, I'm closing my camera right now. That means the camera is not able to see anything. There's dark, so sound goes off. Right? As the light comes up, right, it makes a noise. Yeah. So I'd highly encourage that you basically use this application. This is one of the best application that's out there when it comes to looking at AI and accessibility. It's there on I would say Android. It's not there on Android, by the way. It's there on iOS only. Microsoft. Yeah. So you should just look up seeing AI app, install it, and also if there are. By the way, this is Saqib Sheikh. Saqib Sheikh is one of our developers in Microsoft, and he has 100% visually impaired, and he is one of the um, uh, main person behind this application. So a lot of what he's built, he's a developer in Microsoft. So he's built this application, and as you see here, everything we spoke yesterday, be it document processing, right? Identifying products, everything you saw, seeing preview that you just saw, identifying person. This is the face API. Currency, again, this currency, of course, is trained on images, right? All you need is, if you look at custom vision, I don't think we kind of took you through custom vision, right? Custom vision.ai is basically one of the service. Using custom vision, you can actually build computer vision models, or let me put it this way, object identification or object classifier you can build. And all you need is minimum of, let's say, 40 images, right? You can use up to 100,000 images, but all you need is 100,000 images. I mean, 40 images. That's all too, because dominantly what happens there is transfer learning. Okay, I'll show you that in a few seconds. But otherwise, currency recognition and light. I mean, again, this is in terms of the surroundings and brightness. I think you guys should go on mute. Okay. Somebody's okay. I just muted them. Okay, it's a Friday, so probably yeah. Um, Identifying color and handwriting. So read handwriting text. This is exactly what we saw yesterday in terms of the read API in OCR under basically document processing, right? So this is exactly what form recognizer. Sorry, form recognizer read API OCR is what we kind of saw yesterday. So this is a great way to look at how AI and accessibility. See, end of the day, it is putting technology to good use, and it can't get better than this, right? Today, there are millions of people who are using this application in some form or other to identify the environment around them, right? You might go to a restaurant and you might want to see how you want to read the menu. It can be talking to a colleague who may not understand your language. It can be you're in a meeting, right? This is something which is this is an interesting one. Let's look at this, right?
Recognize and describe people around you with Seeing AI.
The Seeing AI Person channel enables you to recognize people and to get a description of them, including an estimate of their age and also their emotion. That's really cool because in that moment in time, you can find out what someone's facial expression was. When you're taking the photo, the app will guide you to help you center the face. And then once you've taken the photo, you'll hear that description. Let me show you. Hey, Anirudh, can you come here?
Hi, Sandeep.
Hi, I'm just demoing this app. Can I take a photo of you?
Sure.
One face near top edge 4 feet away.
So I got that guidance near top edge, so let's move up a bit. And take a photo.
Take picture. Button. Processing. 36-year-old male wearing glasses looking happy. Button.
That's cool. Is that accurate? I should ask.
Yeah, and it knows I shaved off my beard.
Yeah, no beard anymore. Good point. Very nice. Thank you very much, Anirudh.
Awesome.
That's really cool. The other way I find this useful is when I actually want to take photos of my friends. So when I take a photo, I can now know that the face is centered, so my photos look a bit better, which is useful if I'm going to put it up on Facebook, for example. I also know that the people in my photos are smiling, which is really nice. One last thing. You would have heard that when it's giving guidance, it's just saying the number of people. But how cool would it be if it told me who the people were? Then I could use it to look for a friend. You can actually do that by teaching Seeing AI about your friends. You simply take photos and type in the names of your friends, and the next time, the name will be announced as well.
Anirudh near top edge 5 feet away. Microsoft logo.
Yeah. So just want to make sure that you all saw that. Yeah. Perfect. So see, these are some of the capabilities, right? So for example, in the end, Saqib Sheikh tells that it would be if while you're doing a scene preview, it also recognizes people. Now recognizes images, recognize people. Again, person demo, what you just saw. It's actually very easy to build it, right? If you should look out customvision.ai, and when you go to customvision.ai, you can actually train. You can train a model to recognize people. All you need is three images of an individual, right? I mean, that's a face API. But here, again, this custom vision, if you look at it, helps you basically build models which can classification models and object detection models, right? And again, we say classification. Look at the categories here: landmarks, retail. You can choose. You're probably building something retail sector, or a landmark, or a food sector, right? Landmarks basically across the globe. And you also see this compact models here, right? The compact models also signifies that you can export to edge infrastructure, right? Let's say I choose general compact, and it gives me an option to export to any of these platform, be it basic platform, TensorFlow, Core ML, ONNX, or Vision 8 FKit, right? Both. So this is a simple one. I think you should just explore custom vision API. All you need is I can probably show something which you've already done. For example, here we're trying to identify let's say lettuce, right? Lettuce is this is what we're growing at the tech center as a good example of these are all images from a tech center. This is a good example of what we're building in terms of classifying good versus bad lettuce, right? There are 743 images for sure, but you all needed was 40. Here the 743 because you want to go much deeper on accuracy. Otherwise, you pretty much need 40 images to train some model, right? And of course, when it comes to performance, you'll know in terms of what's been the precision recall map. And this is where it's not a compact model, hence you can export it. And of course, prediction URL is what you get here. You can take that and embed it in any application. Right? As simple. If it was a compact model, you would have got an export option, right? An export option will let you export to any of the different form factors. Okay, so this is pretty much what we had for today. This is a really short one, considering it's all demos and some of the capabilities that we kind of dwelled on yesterday. But otherwise, let's get to Q&A. Any questions you have, anything we've spoken. By the way, we've kind of tried to keep it at level 200, 250, just to ensure that there's a broader coverage of all services that we have at Microsoft. But yes, I think the best part for each of you should be is that in last, I would say, in 4 hours yesterday and 2.5 hours today, in about 6.5 hours, you kind of got a complete glimpse of what is Microsoft AI. And from here on, you should be able to log into our documentation and try it out yourself. The best is if you have access to subscription, so just play around with it. This won't burn a lot of your dollars when you're trying it out, because they're all APIs which you can call in the free. There are a lot of free tier available in each of these stuff. I would encourage you guys to try it out, right? So we saw from a basic model till autonomous systems, which is powered by Bronze with reinforcement learning, right? So you saw a variety of capable Microsoft platform from yesterday to today. So in fact, what we showed today was also well complemented by industry scenarios, and it's absolutely real, right? Most of what we have seen in the last 2 days is real, and a lot of it is not future. It's all here and now, and it's up to each one of us how we take those innovations and put to good use. And that's where would request you guys to also, Shikha spoke about responsible AI yesterday, right? In terms of model explainability, responsible design principles are so critical. So as you're building models, as you're thinking about building a model for any domain, any target audience, just ensure responsible design principles in terms of security, inclusivity, all the stuff is considered in utmost importance, and then you build models. Okay. With that, we'll take a pause and let's see if you have any questions that we have for today.
Thanks, Sandeep and Shikha. So I have like few personal questions. Could you please answer those?
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, like you showed the demo using the GPT-3 model, right? So if you want to access that model, probably we have to take the API key, and it will take some time, right? So I want to see if since you are having the access to that, so could you please try that songs lyrics generation, because one of my cousin is music director, so he keep asking me like, could you please do anything from your side? So I just want to test it once. So if you could do that, it will be.
Sorry, Krishna, you want me to kind of try it right away?
Yeah, like is that window open on your laptop? That time you showed the demo, right? So sounds.
So yeah, I mean, definitely. Let me try to do what what you're saying. I haven't quite understood what you're saying, but definitely would love to help. If you are so keen to kind of play with OpenAI for some song generation thing, and if I can be
Yeah.
of help, that'll be good. Yeah. So what is it that you want me to do?
Write any some lyric here and song.
You want me to write any lyric, and you want me to
Yeah,
want
yeah,
kind of
generate the full lyrics of that song.
generate some cool lyrics. Oh, that should be good. That's a beautiful idea, actually. So let me open another window. I love it.
What's asked basically? Say it again. What's your ask?
He wants to request GPT-3 to generate some song. Okay. So
Wow.
let us see what GPT does. That beautiful suggestion, I must say that.
Yeah. By the way, Shikha and I are not accountable for what comes outside. Okay. We can
Yeah,
just
we're
tell you
not
what.
generate lyrics for a song. I'm not sure what's going to be the outcome. That is
Yeah.
not my responsibility, but let's check it out.
Yes.
Now,
See
okay.
the content.
So
Okay.
now you see this got some kind of text. So what is good is if we kind of give him more kind of indications in regards to what kind of song we're looking forward to. Okay, so let's give that. So generate give lyrics for a song that is let's say that is inspiring. Let's say that's inspiring.
Yeah.
Let's attempt that. Nice, not bad. Not bad at all. So you get the idea. You can definitely get to the lyrics that you're looking forward to. You just have to give the instructions. Okay,
Yeah.
and what I want to tell you is that the instruct set of models that we have here, they are very good at following the instructions. Okay, so you
Mhm.
should probably attempt with that. But I'm dead sure that it will give you some very interesting results.
Yes, yes. At least we can manipulate the lyrics
Interesting.
and we
In
can
fact,
write our according to our requirement. And
Definitely.
okay, thank you, Shika. And
yeah.
so
No,
to
Kethavat,
yeah.
sorry. No. I know where you're going from this. If 10 days from now, if somebody says, "Hey, Kethavat has become lyricist," we know where the English is
Oh.
coming from, right?
So, if you want to access to OpenAI, we need that API key, right? So, is that anything available from your Azure side? Is for public for free trial
So
account?
yeah, so see, as of now, you can kind of access Open API. To my understanding, you can play with Open AI right now. Only thing is, you will not be able to invoke a lot of calls. Very shortly, Open AI APIs will be available as cognitive APIs. So that should happen in fairly shortly, and definitely when that happens, there will be kind of broadcast and news that will definitely make it easier for you to kind of play with it. But right now, also, I believe you can experiment, but not very extensively.
Correct, correct. Thank you.
I think
So,
go to the playground. In the playground, you can absolutely. We just have to. They just ask you log in,
Yes,
and most of the time you'll be able to experiment there.
yes.
Shika, this is my personal question. I'm having 3 years of experience in data science, and so I have worked on many POCs regarding to this computer vision and deep learning models for generation text and all. So, small company doesn't have big data sets related to images, and also every company mostly be having the tablet data and the text data. So since Microsoft is such a big organization, so even not immediately, but in future, if I'm planning to join Microsoft as a data scientist or any other engineer, so could you please tell me what are the areas I should be focused on so that I can get immediately, like, since you're the senior data scientist, so I just
Well,
want to ask.
what I can tell you,
Yeah.
basis, and that kind of is a gist of what I have learned over last so many years, is that uh, you are passionate about data science. That is a fantastic thing. As long as you set a goal for yourself that you will be learning something new every week, you will go far. And there is nothing more than that needed for you to be successful in what and achieve your dreams. That's all I can say. Don't never compromise on learning.
Yeah, yesterday, my manager didn't allow me to join this AI Pathshala, but I told him I'll work 10 few more hours regarding to our office work, but I need to at least get some insight from the Microsoft Azure, which are the services available. So I got and got back here and I joined. So
That is fabulous. I
yeah,
can see a successful professional in the making is all I can say.
yeah. But here we can see only like we are doing only on small projects. But if you could see, everything is available on cloud. Just you just have to use the use cases required to your requirements and all. As you yesterday said, you can save time on concentrating on health and all. So
Right.
that was quite interesting.
No, see, my personal belief has been, and I've worked with organizations of various sizes, right from the biggest organization, which is Microsoft, to startups. And if you are passionate and sincere and have an attitude of learning, then you get the opportunities in whatever workplace you are in. So, I mean, they just happen, and I'm a firm believer of the world kind of strategizes to make you accomplish what you dream for if you sincerely believe it in. So that's pretty much what I can say.
And one more thing, this I was started a startup related to this hydroponics. Recently, you have shown the images classification and all, right? So Sandeep has shown that.
Right.
So I'm also quite interested in that, like automation using that plant disease detection and all automation. So
Absolutely. Yep. That's a very interesting thematic considering for India, we are really focused on agriculture is, one of the fundamental things which drives our economy. So yeah, definitely. I mean, we are making, I mean, AI is going to play a very important role there in agriculture, and hydroponics is just one of the streams there. So I'm glad you really liked that, and you're kind of interested in that space.
if I get a chance, I'll connect you on LinkedIn, Shikha and Sandeep. So okay,
Absolutely. Feel
thank
free to
you.
get in touch, and if I
Yeah,
can
yeah. Thanks.
help, definitely would
Thank
love
you.
to help you out.
Thank you, Sandeep, and thank you, Shikha.
Thank you, Keshav, Ketuman. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Hi Shikha, Maninder here from TCS.
Hi.
Basically, I was having one question that the ball balancing RL agent, right? So, what
Right.
type of data it has been, what type of data was used for its training? Because as we see that there is a plate, so when we place the ball there, so that was a mathematical, equations or parameters that we were inputting to it, or that was a force balancing equation. So, what was there that when we feeding the RL agent, so how we feed that what we feed that RL agent to show us the positive or a negative, and we came up with this model. So can you please help me with that?
Sure, absolutely. Great question. So, talking about data, right? Here, essentially, the beauty is that, because we have a simulator, right? So, because we have a simulator, we are able to generate different states for the model. Now, when I say states, what do we mean by state in this case is what is the ball's position on the plate, right? So X coordinate, Y coordinate, that defines the position. Then what is the velocity at which the ball is moving? And then what is the inclination of the plate, right? So these constitute the state for that. And then basis, this input, the model basically makes the recommendation, and then the simulator tells what recommendation in regards to what should be the action taken by the three levers, and then the simulator tells what should be the action taken, what will happen, what will really happen if this action was taken, whether the objective of staying in the center and not falling off the plate will be met or not, and basis that the reward will be given to the model. So does that kind of give you insights?
Yeah, Shikha. Yeah, thank you for.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any other question that we may have?
Hi Shikha, am I audible?
Yes, Shastri, you are. Yes, Pratyush.
Yeah. Shikha, I just wanted to have a follow-up question on the one that I asked on chat. So it was regarding the limitation of the prompts and completion, which is 2048 tokens. So I got your response that I can feed the data into files.
Right.
Now there's another follow-up question that can I feed these files into a single prompt? Is that
Um,
possible?
yeah, so absolutely. I Let me see if I do have a scenario here wherein I'm doing that. Yeah, so let me share my screen and possibly I can kind of share insights in regards to what you are saying. So see, there are different endpoints. Okay.
Right.
Now, if you go through the documentation, you'll find this information somewhere in the documentation because I do recall reading about this. But here is an example wherein you can see how the file essentially works. So this is about the search endpoint. Okay.
Right.
Now in search endpoint here, what you see, what I do is first, there is an OpenAI.file API, which I am actually using here to create the repository from which I want the search API to really search for the closest matching document. And this file, as far as I recall, I think it is a limitation of around 1 GB, but I might be wrong. But the limit, the upper cap on that is very much mentioned in the documentation. And so
Mhm.
now when I search through it, right, I'm just specifying the file as against the document. Okay, so if you see OpenAI documentation, I'm not sure if you remember that example wherein they've given this example: puppy A is happy and puppy B
Yeah.
is sad, and which puppy is
Yes.
happy, right? You remember
Yes.
that?
Yes. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so there they are giving those documents, and there, of course, you have that limitation. But here I'm having actually a very big file, okay,
Okay.
as this JSON document, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
this is having many records. Of course, each document again has a certain cap,
Mm-hmm.
but then I can give many documents, and then the search is performed out of that. So
Okay.
hopefully that gives you more insights.
Right. One more question. Sorry. Uh, can we get these notebooks as a reference somewhere? Do you have a GitHub account or something, or is it something very personal to you and you would be able to share?
Now that you mentioned it, that inspires me to create a GitHub repository, which I would love to share with you all, because we at Microsoft believe in democratizing AI. That is our mission and goal. So thanks for putting in that request, and I will attempt to do that some point of time shortly.
Thank you, Shikha. Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome. Any other question, please?
Hi Shikha and Sandeep. Sharif here. So regarding seeing AI, so if a user take pictures using seeing AI, will that pictures be collected by Microsoft for further training, or how it will work?
Got it.
No. So none of the images that you submit as part of making API calls get stored. No, not at all. So it's only for inferencing, and Microsoft doesn't store it. That's well documented in terms of ensuring the privacy and security of everything. All the calls you make are public cloud. Yeah,
Okay,
it doesn't
great then.
store.
Yeah, so just want to add, be it Microsoft, I mean, security, data privacy, these are fundamental tenets that we believe. So anytime there is any data that is, being utilized by the API for making certain inference, that data will never be stored and never be used for the purpose that, that is actually warranted by you. So there should not be no apprehension, no concerns, and that is possibly why Azure solutions are being adopted very massively by enterprises because your data is your data, and we fundamentally believe in that thematic.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Please feel free to share. That's why we have kind of. Is it possible to use OpenAI for cybersecurity for basic encryption and decryption and then move to high end data? connection process, that is something I really doubt. Talking about encryption and all, this is something like you need to have a well-defined algorithm for encrypting, and then kind of be able to decrypt when required. Whereas OpenAI isn't, I mean, what we are discussing here, OpenAI GPT-3 is an NLP model, which will help you in language generation tasks. Yeah, this is a use case wherein possibly we need to look forward to some other solutions. Any other questions, audience? It's a pleasure to be able to answer your queries.
So how do we look at, sorry, this is Ijaz. How do we look at, AI in terms of storytelling and visualization? Because in data science world, what happens is you have, your data, you've extracted insights, everything. Now, the real time is you have to prepare a deck, present it to someone. How do you see AI playing a very important role? You invest a lot of time in preparing a deck. A certain graphics has to go within, certain graphs. A story has to be set in terms of, visuals, bar charts. So how do you look at, mapping that story, not in only in terms of, graphs, also in terms of infographics, giving that real experience to, the clients? How do we look at that?
Yeah, so first of all, fantastic question, Aizaz. I, being a data scientist, I can totally relate to how the storytelling plays a very important role as you're building the solution, and of course, even post you productionize it. So there are, a couple tools that we have talked about even in this session. I'll refer to those once again. So one is, with this entire ML Ops platform, entire Azure machine learning platform that we talked about, you see a lot of information captured readily. So in terms of matrices, as you train the models, all that information becomes readily available. You have all insights in regards to how the data sets, how their versioning happened, what happened when we trained the model on different data set, or how we trained the model on a different code base, and then how the matrices change. So that is one side of the story. Another extremely important tool is the responsible AI dashboard. I'm not sure if you had a chance to attend the session yesterday. Ajas, were you able to kind of listen to the responsible AI dashboard story?
Yes, I was present yesterday. So
Right. So as you could see, right, I mean, that was giving you pretty much all the insights that you would need to share with your stakeholders, right? And be able to convince yourself and the other people in the entire ecosystem who will actually influence the decision in regards to the efficacy of the model, how the model is performing for different attributes, where the shortcomings are, is the model fair, right? And what could be even done for the end customers if, let us say, the model inference was not favorable for them. What is it that they could do at their end to be able to kind of align to what they are aspiring to actually achieve? So that is a very, I would say, very helpful tool which will let you build your story with minimal effort. Does
Yeah.
that answer your
yeah,
question, Sajad?
Yeah.
yeah,
By
pretty close.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. So that was the insight section, that you were referring to. So I've got the insights. I'm pretty happy with what the, insights I've got. And I'm also pretty happy because I've got the recommendations to share as well. But putting that into, again, a Microsoft product like PowerPoint, right? Getting, from Azure, I'm coming back. I can use Power BI. Probably I can use, I can get great visuals in Power BI as well, and, Azure as well. But the final product that I submit to the client is not the dashboard or not the Azure, the visuals that I see. I share a proper presentation. So how can I make it very effective using AI is what actual my question was, you know, but I got your, zest as well. Like, how can you actually kickstart, understanding your story? How can you actually, get the base and where you can start and where you can end? That's an amazing, I'm certainly happy with what you displayed yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Ajay. So, yeah, I mean, that is aligned with the general thematic that we as human beings will never be eliminated by AI, right? We will continue to play a very important role. All that will
Correct.
happen is we'll just play a more interesting role. And AI will kind of complement what we do.
True. Yeah. True.
Any other questions?
Hi, Shikha. This is Ashish.
Yeah. Hi, Ashish.
Yeah, so actually, I am from the Azure Edge ecosystem.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to know because I have seen like Azure anomaly detection, right, app. Okay, which can predict the data, which can forecasting the things. Okay, so for what kind of services we can use as part of Azure Edge eco services site, Edge eco-based systems.
Sorry, edge eco-based system. Sandeep, are you able to kind of figure that out? I mean, I can talk
Edge,
about your.
because Azure, yeah, Azure Edge environment services are available,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Now, yeah. So actually, for this AI ML model, what kind of services we can use to solve this Azure ecosystem, Azure Edge services environment problems?
Yeah, right. So see, right from hardware to software to the pre-built models, you have the entire facade of offerings available, right? So as Microsoft, we facilitate Azure Edge devices, so which means you can have a GPU available in your premises on which you can deploy the models in a container environment. So, the telemetry could be flowing in onto your edge device, and it could be inferences could be happening right at the edge, and the inferences could then be routed onto Azure IoT Hub or Event Hub or something like that. And from therein, it could then be consumed by your application. It could be Teams, it could be a custom app, it could be a Power BI dashboard. So essentially, depending on your end-to-end kind of solutioning, these would be some of the components.
So one last question I have: can we deploy this environment? Can we deploy all these things in the internet environment also, where we do not have internet accessibility?
Right. So you do have a mechanism to set up, Azure IoT stack, wherein you can set up a private network. But if now with 4G, 5G coming in, maybe you will have other mechanisms. Sandeep, if you could share more insights about that, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So look at it this way. Some of the examples we spoke yesterday and today also, a lot of scenarios are in tier two cities where there is no internet, or even in the metro cities where, let's say in a hospital in a basement, there is no connectivity, but you need to make some inferences. So absolutely, I think end of the day, the compute innovation has happened where you can take these models and deploy. To be really frank, what is desirable is economies of scale. That means you may have a very low-end Android tablet or a iOS version or a Windows machine, and on that on that low-end machine, can you run these ML models? That's where bulk of innovation is happening without compressing. Right, moment you compress, of course, accuracy slightly goes down, but without compressing, how can you do that? First evidence we've seen in terms of our India Development Center has actually built something called embedded speech models, right? Especially for speech, let's say English to Hindi, Hindi to English, etc., or English to English, right? When you're speaking, you want to convert that, you're going to store that as a data. That's happening as we speak. So with Edge becoming a lot more prevalent, AI innovation also increase on the same lines.
Sandeep, this is Rahul. I have a question for you. I posted on chat, but I didn't see a response. But
Sorry, go ahead.
around the accessibility content you shared,
Yeah.
there was a prediction or an estimated guess of the person's age.
Yeah.
So that is more specific to the app that someone built at Microsoft. But if I consider a healthcare worker with accessibility issues, is it possible for them to get uh, for a real time picture, get a
Yeah.
height and a weight prediction? Is that a off tangent question, or it suits the context?
No, Rahul, thanks for the question. See, just so that you know, the age and some of the parameters there that are shown was part of the Face API. But apparently, looking at regulatory, looking at inclusion and diversity, those APIs have right now they're deprecated as we speak, right? Because that's a tough one to solve to predict somebody's age, and if it's not accurate, it's not right. So those those features as part of vision right now doesn't stand good. Yeah.
Sure. No, my direct question was more around getting the right body mass index for a malnutrition, study that a healthcare worker is doing with accessibility issues. But yes,
Yeah.
the PHI and all of that regulatory aspects come into picture. But I was just checking. Thank you so much.
Correct. Correct. No, very good question. It's just that you can move towards that, but I don't think the accuracy is always questionable. That's where it is. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Sandeep.
Awesome. See, most of, especially consider the question, most of innovation considering AI in healthcare is assistive. It mostly assistive tech for doctors. Even what we're doing with Apollo Hospital that we gave earlier, we're trying to predict likelihood of a cardiac episode happening in the next 7 years. That's a risk score coming across. Again, doctors are the best to look at what led to that risk score. That's where model explainability becomes critical. So the model actually comes back as to on what basis the prediction is happening, and it's up to doctor to actually decipher that, right? You don't want to convey something saying, you're high risk, this is a score. No, doctors have to understand what basis, and then they'll make informed decision, right? So there's a human in the loop all the time considering healthcare.
Got it. Yeah.
Awesome. No, these are great questions here. Thank you so much. I know it's lunchtime for all of us. So let us know so you can reach out to Shikha in LinkedIn. We're there. We'll definitely be responsive there. Ask us any further questions you want to ask, and we can take it from there. Otherwise, I think it's been a pleasure to address all of you yesterday and today. So on behalf of Microsoft, thank you so much. Shikha and I take the opportunity to thank all of you. And with that, back to you, Supriya.
Sandeep, one question, little question I'm having. Like,
Sorry,
so
I'm out
far.
of time. Lunchtime. I'm joking. Go ahead.
Fine. So here we have seen that seeing AI and everything from Azure side. So I didn't see any use cases such as like driverless car or this automated car. So in that case, have you mentioned?
See, we are a platform provider, right? So
Yeah.
Seeing AI app was built as a good evidence of how AI can be put to good use. Of course, it is done by a Microsoft developer. Now, talking about autonomous cars, talking about driverless cars, etc., there is significant innovation happening with Microsoft, with I would say OEMs, especially automobile manufacturers. A lot of handshake is happening. A lot of OEMs use our platform, right? So we're a platform company, and we provide platform for people to innovate on that. So that's what it. In fact, look at it this way. You talk about in India itself. Let's take one of the research project at Microsoft India Research was to identify when the driver is driving the vehicle, how attentive that person is, right, to avoid accidents, especially taxi drivers, right, if they are doing a longer shift, and alerting them, or even the employer saying, hey, this person is on an overshift, he's going to is not active, is drowsy, so it's time for him to take a break because passengers are at risk. So there is, again, runs on a very simple Android phone that they carry. The model does real-time prediction of how attentive they are, and if they're not attentive, immediate alert happens in the car itself, right? So those are all innovations happening, but again, that is using our platform building blocks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
And I
are
think
we
you
getting?
should think about building those models, right? I mean, we've given you enough information on the platform. It's time to innovate
Yeah,
your end.
yes. I'm probably working on the hydroponics, which I told you earlier. So thank you. So are we getting any certificate for this attending this workshop here? So or not?
Supriya, you can take that.
Yeah, sure. There'll be no certificates issued, but we will definitely share the links to the recordings with all of you, which will be published on our YouTube handle.
Okay, yesterday's link was not accessible actually.
Yeah, so allow us some time to make the
Okay,
edits to the recording, and we will definitely get it to you. Do not worry.
It's okay because we have many modules in Azure, so I just want to explain one after one. So I just
sure we will get it to you.
Yeah, very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it was a cracker of a session, Sandeep and Shikha. I mean, KTech definitely will be looking forward to many more such engaging sessions with both of you to get your perspectives on emerging technologies like AI, Metaverse, and advanced analytics. I'm sure our participants were also able to gain insights into various key innovations at Microsoft in AI and ML space. Well, to tell you, I personally like the demonstration of the robotics and their applications in various businesses and industries. And it gave us an opportunity to take a tour of the MS Technology Center as well. I wish we could be there sometime. Thanks, a big thanks to our presenters Sandeep and Shikha for an enriching workshop today, and to our participants for joining us at this edition of workshop. Your feedback is valuable, so do let them come. Signing off from today's workshop is Supriya Samuel from KTech Center of Excellence Data Science and AI. Do follow our social media channels to keep yourself updated on our upcoming programs. Any comments, any feedback from your end, Sandeep and Shikha?
It was a pleasure for us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share insights, and many thanks to entire audience for taking the time out and to be with us. It was a very pleasant and memorable experience for both of us.
Likewise, Shikha and Sandeep. So thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you a great day ahead and a happy weekend to everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.